Hello, I'm Karen Del Bowerman. This is more today on the subject of cumulative medical trauma. And today we're going to talk about some of the types of trauma. Now, there'll be some researchers and so on who say, there are 4 types. I say there is not a definitive number, so we're going to cover some of the more commonly talked about, researched, people in the hospital, etc. Let's start with PTSD because that's one of the more common terms that is sometimes actually interchanged inappropriately, by the way, with the word trauma. PTSD was not even recognized until after the Vietnam War in 1980, when the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual and the board of that group voted on it and listed it in there. Single incident trauma, I've certainly experienced once with a moose in Alaska when that moose jumped a 6-foot fence to come and visit me, I guess you could say. And I slowly backed up and got a car between him and me. And there was nothing else that happened after that. But I was traumatized. There was a single incident trauma from that. Generational trauma is different because it is referring to unresolved negative events that ripple down through a family and can go for many generations. And then there's domestic family violence. Back 50 years ago, believe it or not, I wrote this book for the governor of Texas, Children Within the Cycle. This is one of the problems of family violence, in that children who witness family violence in their homes, often when they are adults, become more susceptible to accepting it as acceptable behavior, which of course it is not, and that is a problem. Acute stress disorder is another type of trauma. It's typically temporary, but it is temporary, but it may evolve into something like PTSD. And then there is an adjustment disorder, which happens, for example, after the death of a loved one, and may be associated with anxiety or disturbance of conduct. Teens may vandalize, adults may drive recklessly, so it needs to be dealt with for sure. And then there's medical trauma, which is a patient's psychological or physiological response to a trauma experience that's in the medical setting. It may be pain, invasive sort of procedures, maybe dismissal by medical treatment folks, maybe trauma that occurs with birth. But it is in that medical environment where it can certainly be dealt with as we learn more and more about how to do that. So I conclude with this note that I wish you the very best as we work together through all of this. Best wishes.